Now we're going to spend a little time focusing on the atmosphere that we try to cultivate at the Hospitality Center and the expectations that we have for our volunteers to help us maintain it. There are two general types of reasons that asylum seekers leave their country of origin. Push factors, which are reasons for leaving, things that are happening in their home countries that are making it very difficult for them to remain where they are and causing them to leave. Persecution, disasters, fear. Pull factors are things that make their destination a more attractive place to be. Safety, opportunity, stability, freedom. Everybody's context is different, and although it can be easy to try and generalize the things that make people leave or stay, we want to recognize that each individual's experience of these factors is unique, and we want to try to be as open as possible to the stories that are contrary to what our beliefs are. One of the biggest pieces of BSC's approach to hospitality is the approach of cultural humility. We want to remember that the families that we're hosting are our guests, and we will treat them as such. This means not making assumptions about where they've come from, what they've been through, what language they should speak. For example, while many of our guests speak Spanish, their level of Spanish or their dialect may be very different from what we hear here in the borderlands. So approaching interactions with an open and respectful mind is key. One way to make this approach of cultural humility more concrete is with the 5 R's of cultural humility. We want to approach every encounter with humility and reflect on the fact that we can learn something from every interaction. Respect is at the root of everything we do here. We need to actively strive to preserve the human dignity of our guests at all times. Regard them positively. They've been through a lot, and we need to be very careful not to allow our unconscious biases to interfere with interactions and taint the way we approach each individual. Here, we're talking about relevance in 2 different ways. Cultural humility is a relevant tool for every interaction, and we want to treat each and every guest as being relevant. And finally, cultural humility and resilience go hand in hand. Having this tool helps us be more resilient ourselves, and it also shows that we honor the resilience in the families that we're working with. We also need to recognize that the language that we use, the words that we use matter a lot. Not only are we talking about the words that we use to communicate with our guests, our fellow volunteers and staff members, but also the words that we use to refer to each other. For example, we try to stay away from the words like illegal or alien because they're very dehumanizing. So instead, we use migrants, asylum seekers, or just simply guests. Repeated use of dehumanizing language can have a really negative effect on a space and organizational culture, and also on the way that a community thinks. So we want to be very aware of this. When we use words to refer to these families in these situations, we want to be aware of the impact our words can have on people's perceptions. Our volunteer dues would be on time for your shifts. We are very flexible. If you're running late, just shoot me a text, not a problem. You want to be flexible with your expectations and availability. Help yourself to the available snacks that we have here at our hospitality center. You want to hydrate, and remind our guests to do the same. Wear personal protective equipment at all times. Stay home if you're feeling ill or experiencing flu-like symptoms. Wash your hands regularly and encourage our guests to do the same. Listen with open minds to guests and colleagues. If and when comfortable, spend time getting to know our guests and each other. You want to treat guests in a manner that protects our guests' private dignity and safety. Practice responsible forms of self-care. Our volunteer don'ts include no photos, videos, or audio recordings are permitted on site. Most of our guests are running away from something or someone, so we want to keep that animosity going. Volunteers should not be alone with visiting children, and children should never be left alone. If you see a child with no parent, ask them where their mom or dad is. Recruiting of any kind is prohibited. Our volunteers are not allowed to leave our hospitality site with our guests. You're also not allowed to give or receive money or other personal gifts to our guests. Volunteers are not allowed to lend your personal cell phone numbers to our guests for call or any other purposes. Our travel team does have cell phones that our guests can use in case they don't have one. Volunteers shall never guest personal information with persons or agencies outside of the hospitality center. Now we'll go into more detail about what a safe workspace looks like in our context. We'll be incorporating a discussion about safe workspaces that was prepared by Casa Alitas, which is a large hospitality center that's operated by Catholic Charities in Tucson, Arizona. They've helped us a lot in coming up with ideas for how to operate. All the 10 slides come from their materials. Maintaining a safe environment is an important part of maintaining a safe workspace. We want everyone to feel that their dignity, their humanity, and health are respected at the hospitality center. We'll be covering the following forms of safety: physical safety, site safety, information safety, emotional and psychological safety, and our reporting protocols. We want to keep the hospitality center clean, orderly, and welcoming. free of hazard and debris. You want to be aware of your surroundings while you're at the hospitality center. We want to grant everyone appropriate and respectful personal space and boundaries. Everyone on site must be free from physical, emotional, and verbal abuse of any kind, sexual advancements, harassment, or assault. Physical safety regarding our health, general health requirements. You want to wear your PPE as required. Follow all additional COVID-19 protocols for your site and team. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water. If you're not able to do this, hand sanitizer is also available everywhere you go. Clean common areas like tables, chairs, and toys with bleach and water. Stay home if you're feeling ill, as well as 3 to 7 days after. And during flu season, get your flu shot. In the event of a medical emergency, the following steps should be followed. Call 911. Immediately notify the ship supervisor. They will follow up with our medical team here on site. Make sure that the individual in crisis is in a safe space and that onlookers stay back. Have a volunteer or staff member stay with the individual at all times. Take steps to assure the safety of the individual's children if applicable. Have someone meet emergency personnel outside and guide them inside if needed. Our new campus is a closed campus. All staff members and volunteers need to present their BSC badge to security to enter. Please let our volunteer coordinator know when your first shift is so that they can let security know to expect you, and we'll print you a personal photo ID badge when you arrive for your first shift. We wear our badges so that our guests feel that we're not afraid to show our names. We've heard reports of CBP and ICE agents covering their name badges and behaving inappropriately towards their detainees, which are our guests. We want our guests to feel safe and see that we're holding ourselves accountable in every way that we can. In the U.S., we have federal laws that protect people's private health information. At BSC, we work to protect our guests' private personal information, whether it relates to their health, their immigration status or process, their personal experiences, or their identity. We're serving vulnerable populations and handling sensitive information at all times, so issues of confidentiality are very relevant for us. We need to make sure that our volunteers and staff respect the privacy of our guests by not sharing guests' private information. We want to treat everyone with respect. Harassing or abusive language will not be tolerated. Teasing, bullying, and jokes made at the expense of others will also not be tolerated. We want to be careful when asking personal questions, and we want to be trauma-informed. We need to remember that our guests have had a range of experiences, and some of these experiences have been very traumatic. The families and individuals we serve are often still processing their traumas when they come to us. So we focus on providing a safe space where people can meet their most immediate needs: food, shelter, rest in a kind and welcoming environment. We don't probe, we don't diagnose, we don't try to fix our guests. If we do see acute mental health issues, we will make sure that our guests get the immediate help that they need by connecting them with a licensed and trained mental health professional where they're going. But our most important function is to provide people with a safe space and allow them the dignity of feeling that safety. If a guest wants to share their personal experiences with you and you feel comfortable being there in that moment with them, please do so. We want our guests to feel seen, heard, and treasured while they're with us. Just a little trigger warning. The following slides cover topics that may be triggering to some people. If you need to take a step away, take a few breaths, or take a break, we completely understand and we respect your space. As personnel, you are the eyes and ears of the operation. So if you hear or see anything that's inappropriate, we need you to report it to the ship supervisor or our volunteer coordinator immediately. The term mandated reporting means that if you work with children and you become aware that a child is being abused either physically or sexually, you are legally obligated to report it. We ask that if a parent or guardian inflicts or allows physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, exploitation, abandonment, a report be made to NMCYFD. Abuse by anyone who is not a parent or guardian goes to the police as well as CYFD. However, if the parent or guardian in question isn't with the child anymore and the abuse happened in their home country, it doesn't need to be reported to CYFD. When a report needs to be made, we don't expect you to investigate or prove the allegation, but we do need the information in blue in order to report it. Usually the site manager or executive director will be the one to make the report. But even if you choose to make the CYFD report yourself, we need the admin team to be aware, since it may have an impact on the family's immigration proceedings in unpredictable ways, and we don't want to put the child in greater danger than what they are. The first thing you should do if you notice something is to inform the shift supervisor or the volunteer coordinator immediately, and then the admin team may ask for your help in obtaining the information so that they or you can report it. There's not a mandated reporting requirement for domestic violence involving adults, but we ask that if you become aware of a domestic violence incident at the shelter, you notify the shift supervisor or volunteer coordinator and call 911 if anybody is in immediate danger. And let's just take a breath. Please, while you're working with us, check in with yourself often, take breaks, take a breather when you need it. As beautiful as this work is, our guests are often carrying heavy things, and it means that we can start to carry heavy things as well. For some of us, it can even trigger our own past traumas. Please take care of yourself and feel free to reach out to us if there's anything we can do to support you.